Guys, what's the crack? Bitcoin with Dinny here. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, make sure you hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, become part of the community, and we'll teach you how to retire early by teaching you all about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is just bouncing into all-time highs, price discovery mode. Every single minute it's going up a little bit higher. It's on a run. How long it lasts for, who knows? We know Bitcoin's volatile, but one thing is for sure, this baby's going higher and this rocket can't be stopped. Now, that's what we're going to chat to today. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, lucky enough. That's how I'm able to talk to you about Bitcoin. If I was a financial advisor, I wouldn't be able to speak to you about Bitcoin, or I'd only be able to speak to you negatively about Bitcoin. And therefore, I would keep you from using the world's highest performing asset to retire yourself early. Like a lot of our clients have, we provide education on Bitcoin. So we teach people how to understand it and how to use it to retire themselves early. And if that sounds good, check out my website, bitcoinwithdinny.com. We're Ireland's first Bitcoin consulting company, and we've been on the go 5 years, and some of our clients are now deciding they don't want to work anymore because the bull market is kicking off, and the work that they've done over the last 5 years or 4+ years has afforded them to hit their financial goals, hit their retirement goals, and it's not too late is basically the TLDR of this video. It's never too late with Bitcoin. So I'll just explain to you the cycle, because Bitcoin works in cycles. And please share this with anyone who's new and doesn't understand it and thinks that Bitcoin's risky and thinks that money in the bank is safe. My opinion is money in the bank is the riskiest thing you can do, because the bank owns the money, the bank makes money off your money, and then the European Central Bank prints money so you can buy less things with your money. Why anyone would do that, I don't know. Certainly none of the rich people and wealthy people and successful people I know, they don't adopt that strategy. I digress. So Bitcoin works in a cyclical way, and where we are in Bitcoin cycle, if you've been following the channel, you knew this was coming. We spoke about it, we prepared for it, we've been preparing for it for years now. Since the 2020 bull market, 2021 bull market, we went back into the preparation stage, the accumulation stage. So Bitcoin works in cycles, okay, and they're liquidity cycles, and it sort of ties in, Bitcoin's halving structure ties in with the presidential election of America, and it also ties in with like a business cycle, and that business and capital flows they sort of ebb and flow in semi-predictable cycles, and Bitcoin's just following that. Okay, so we had our Bitcoin halving back in April. That's when the supply of Bitcoin is cut by 50%, and then, you know, many months later, like now, the price starts to run. Why does the price start to run? Well, if you're only able to produce 50% as much of any given product, okay, eventually the price doesn't have to change immediately, because there's some on shelves, there's stock on shelves. But as the stock starts to diminish, okay, the sellers of the product realize, hey, there's nothing to replace this. This is more valuable than whatever it's priced at, and therefore Bitcoin, the market has to reprice Bitcoin, and it does it with extreme volatility, because Bitcoin will go up and down and left and right, and it won't happen in a really predictable way, the way you'd like it to happen. But part of being in Bitcoin is why you have to spend so much time on your education, so you are able to understand the phrase you need to learn how to eat glass, okay, which means you need to learn to accept volatility and realize that it's the volatility is how all our clients retire early. Okay, so if you want something that's not volatile, invest into something other than Bitcoin and don't retire early. The choice is yours. So for 15 years it's been the highest performing asset on the planet, and that ain't going to change. Like, look, the performance already this year, nothing has outperformed Bitcoin. Last year, nothing outperformed Bitcoin. So again, eventually mainstream's going to wake up to this. Eventually your financial advisor will be able to sell you a Bitcoin product, and they'll ring up and tell you why you should use Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, and understand Bitcoin. But for now, you've only got Dinny to sort you out. So Bitcoin, it's breaking its all-time high. Traditionally what happens is we're going to go on a run. I put out, if you're not following me on Instagram, it's Bitcoin with Dinny, just Bitcoin with Dinny. Beware of scammers, I'll never reach out to you. Okay, so if you ever get a message from anyone called Bitcoin with Dinny, or my full name like my personal profiles, I promise you it's not me. I've much better things to do with my time than to be cold messaging you guys. Will reply when you message me, but if you get a message from someone, it certainly isn't me, guys, so just be aware of that. Okay, so Bitcoin, what happens next is, on my Instagram channel I said it's guaranteed Bitcoin breaks 100k now. It is, it's guaranteed. Like, you know, we're in the early innings of the bull market, we're just getting going, and it's time for Bitcoin to go on a price run. I've never seen a better setup for Bitcoin in all the macro landscape. It just does so much bullish things. We've the change in the FASB ruling of how Bitcoin is accounted. We have a Bitcoin ETF. We have a pro-Bitcoin president of the largest, most important country on the planet and most important market on the planet, United States of America. We have interest rates coming down. We have liquidity starting to be introduced into the market. You know, it's just the ultimate setup. Bitcoin was made for this day, and to all the Bitcoiners who've been here for years, who've stacked, who've educated themselves, who are part of our community, possibly being my clients, I've consulted with you 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago. You're in the Retirely Club right now. Congratulations, like, this is the setup. To everyone who's not already in the game, not educated, okay, you need to get educated fast. So I would say to you, go onto my website, check out my products, because where we are now is when retail starts to come. So the chances are, if you're new, okay, and you're only finding Bitcoin now and you're realizing it's not a scam, I need to do work on it, and you're coming into the crypto market like a greenhorn, you will lose a lot of money in this cycle, okay? Even though Bitcoin's gonna rip, it's my prediction, we go well into 6 figures, okay? But even though Bitcoin's gonna do all that, and the whole market's gonna rip, I'm very confident that all the new participants will lose money. Why? Because I've literally consulted at this stage with thousands of people, and it's always the case. And that's why you gotta prioritize education. You know nothing, you must admit that. Otherwise you'll already be rich. And that's the unfortunate thing, and I say it candidly, but like, my job is not to be your friend, my job is to help you to retire early. And if that means you tell people what they need to hear, not what they might want to hear, well, so be it. So, new market cycle, we're in the early innings, Bitcoin's gonna rip, it's gonna continue to rip. We're going to see the rest of the market come up as well. There'll be huge opportunities for people who get this right. It's never too late with Bitcoin. It happens in a cycle, then it'll have a crash. We'll have loads of crashes along the way to shake out retail. I'm not sure what's happening there in Ukraine, so something like that could pull us back a little bit. All that'll create is opportunities for people who understand this and know how to take the action. But Bitcoin will continue to be cyclical, and that means there'll be opportunities. The biggest opportunities in this market is when everyone says it was a scam, everyone says it's over and leaves and doesn't have interest. Right now, there's great opportunities to get started and make the correct moves, but the biggest opportunities will be coming later. So yeah, watch this space. Exciting time for all the Bitcoiners who've been here, who've gone through the shit, listened to their friends and their family and the talking heads on the media. Maybe David McWilliams telling people, you know, why Bitcoin is so terrible, but then just recently admitting he owns some. Like, what sort of damage did he do to the Irish population? All the people who could have just had small Bitcoin positions, but listen to his nonsense, meanwhile he'll accumulates. That's what you're up against, folks. You know, ex-central banker. I'm really disappointed in that personally, but that's the way of it. And it's not just, I can't just single out one, it's like all the financial advisors. Unfortunately, a lot of them end up being my customers. They come to me, they consult with me, and they buy a shitload of Bitcoin. Meanwhile, they're not legally allowed to speak to their clients about it. I think it's terrible. That's why I try and push this message out. But it's only a tiny channel, and that's why we need your help to try and share this content and get it in front of as much normal people as possible. Because I don't know if you noticed, but all the wealth, all the 1% is buying as much Bitcoin as they can get, and that's why the price is absolutely ripping. Retail haven't even came here yet. Most retail aren't here. The majority of your friends and family own 0 Bitcoin and they still think it's a scam. And that's because they listen to mainstream media, and that's because the banks own mainstream media, and it was their job to teach people that. Just to try and stop Bitcoin, but then when the banks realised they couldn't stop Bitcoin, they had to join Bitcoin. And that's why we're seeing some of the largest banks now take the regulators to court to allow them to buy Bitcoin because they weren't previously allowed to hold it. So that's what's happening behind the scenes. It's an exciting time. It's not too late to get started on Bitcoin. It will be too late soon. And that's why it's important we try and educate as many people as possible to get them to understand Bitcoin and why Bitcoin protects you from the cost of living. Bitcoin protects you from inflation, and we ain't finished with the cost of living, and we ain't finished with inflation by any stretch, folks. Okay? So that there's such a fucking snowball of trouble coming down the line as these central banks continue to debase the currency, continue to further indebt themselves and make your cost of living more expensive. And it just means your kids are going to live with you forever if you have kids, or if you're young enough and you want to buy a house. You'll never buy a house unless you figure out Bitcoin. Okay? Either you learn how to be in the top 1% of entrepreneurs, okay, and you're an absolute killer, then maybe you can buy a house, or you'll need to understand Bitcoin. And I tell you, Bitcoin is a hell of a lot easier. Way easier. Guys, have a super day. Remember, jump on the Bitcoin with Dinny cryptocurrency.com. If you want a free consultation with us, drop us a message. I will shoot you a link for one of my team and get on a call. You can understand everything we do. We do everything from high net worth people who need to deploy 6 and 7 figures of capital into Bitcoin. We've got the perfect on-ramps that are zero risk for you, okay, to people who are just trying to get started and they've no Bitcoin pension and they mightn't have any pension, to Irish businesses. We're onboarding a lot of Irish businesses and helping them to build a Bitcoin treasury reserve strategy, just like MicroStrategy done, just like Tesla done, and just like all the highest performing companies have done. And any companies who haven't done it, they simply haven't performed as well as them, and that's why it is the future. All companies will do this, just like all companies speak on social media. Remember, this is just a new paradigm shift, and those who are flexible and open-minded get to go to the new land, and those who aren't stay in the old land, and the old land is getting worse. So be flexible, be open-minded. Congratulations to everyone's been here, who's done the work. Have a super day. Make sure you share this. Thanks. Dinny out.